All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get started to make sure I honor your time. And to begin with, welcome to the California State Seal of Biliteracy, or SSB webinar. This webinar is brought to you by the Multilingual Support Division, or MSD, at the California Department of Education, or CDE, and is being recorded on November 8th, 2023. The recorded webinar will later be posted to the CDE SSB webpage. My name is Gina Garcia-Smith, and I'm an Education Programs Consultant in the MSD at the CDE. I'm excited to be able to offer you information and resources regarding the SSB today. Please use the Q&A feature to ask any questions you have during the webinar. You can also vote for questions you would like to have answered by clicking the thumbs up icon. Liking a question that you have also will help elevate that question and ensure that it is answered. I will answer a selection of questions at the end of this webinar. If you have any questions after viewing this webinar, please feel free to contact me. My contact information is available at the end of this presentation and on the link handout that is posted in the chat for those watching live and linked with the recorded webinar for those watching the recording. Each time I reference a resource or web page, you can find the link on the link stock. The link to the slides from today's webinar are also available on the top of that link stock. My colleague Emily Smith will be sharing links with you today and assisting with the Q&A. Throughout this webinar, I will also be describing visuals to ensure accessibility for all participants. There are also American Sign Language, or ASL, interpreters to ensure accessibility for all. They are spotlighted for your convenience. The outcomes for this webinar are to become familiar with the SSB program's purpose and importance, the newly updated requirements for earning the SSB, the process for tracking eligible students and keeping records, the process for requesting insignias, the available resources and where to find them, and best practices for raising awareness, equity, and building a path to biliteracy. Participants should be prepared to start an SSB program or to strengthen an existing SSB program after viewing this webinar. First, I will provide an overview of the SSB program. What is the SSB? The SSB is a program that offers recognition by the State Superintendent of Public Instruction for graduating high school students who have attained a high level of proficiency in speaking, reading, and writing in one or more languages in addition to English. This recognition is marked by a gold seal that can be affixed to the diploma or transcript of a graduating senior who has met all of the SSB eligibility requirements. The seal is pictured on this slide and shows the state of California and an open book. The SSB is a free program. By law, no fee may be charged to students, schools, or districts to participate in the program. The SSB was established for a variety of reasons, including to encourage and recognize biliteracy and multiliteracy and the study of languages. This program also provides a way for employers and colleges to identify students who have the 21st century skills of biliteracy or multiliteracy. Finally, this program fosters an inclusive environment that strengthens intergroup relations, embraces multiculturalism, and affirms the value of linguistic diversity in the community. The SSB's purposes align with the vision of the English Learner Roadmap policy for English learners to fully and meaningfully access and participate in a 21st century education from early childhood through grade 12 that results in their attaining high levels of English proficiency, mastery of grade level standards, and opportunities to develop proficiency in multiple languages. English learners and other multilingual learners are already on the path to the State Seal of Biliteracy with their home languages. Ensuring these students have opportunities to develop the home language along with English is an important part of growing the SSB and celebrating California's linguistic diversity. Many other states in the United States also have SSB programs. In California, the SSB became effective on January 1st, 2012, per Assembly Bill 815. California was the first state to adopt an SSB program. Since then, 48 other states and the District of Columbia have followed suit. This map from the Californians Together Seal of Biliteracy website at http://sealofbiliteracy.org shows the states in dark blue that have already adopted an SSB program. The map shows every state shaded in dark blue other than one state, South Dakota. South Dakota is shaded in peach, showing that it is currently in the early stages of developing an SSB program. This means that soon every state will have an SSB program. The nationwide focus on the Seal of Biliteracy is further strengthened with the U.S. Department of Education's Raise the Bar, Lead the World initiative. One of this initiative's 3 key focus areas is creating pathways for global engagement. This includes providing every student with a pathway to multilingualism. The link to the Raise the Bar, Lead the World webpage is available on the links doc shared in the chat. It is included under the heading Partner Resources. The blue bars in this graph show the growth in the number of SEALs awarded annually since the program was established. In the 2012-13 school year, 10,685 SEALs were awarded. In 2013-14, 23,941 SEALs were awarded. In 2014-15, 32,766. In 2015-16, 39,741. In 2016-17, 46,380. In 2017-18, 55,214. In 2018-19, 57,486. In 2019-20, 65,622. And in 2020-21, 72,593. Finally, in 2021-22, we saw a decline in the number of SEALs awarded for the first time since the program was established to 57,518. This past year, we saw an increase again to 59,703. The top 2 rows of the bar graph, shaded in orange, show the goals from Global California 2030. To stay on track with the goals set forth in the Global California 2030 initiative, we will need to work hard from now until 2025 to achieve the target of 125,000 SEALs in 2024-25, and ultimately 175,000 SEALs by 2030. The mission of Global California 2030 is to equip students with the world language skills to fully engage with the diverse cultures and heritages of California and the world, while also preparing them to succeed in the global economy. Please see the link on your links document for the Global California 2030 report, which provides additional information about these goals. A total of 521,649 SSBs have been awarded in California since the program was established. That translates into a lot of students who are equipped with biliteracy or multiliteracy, contributing to their communities and to the economy. While these numbers are exciting, it was disappointing to see the decline during the 2021-22 school year. The decline during 2021-22 is most likely attributable to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, it is an important call to action to ensure that all California students and families are aware of the SSB and its requirements, and that all students, but especially those students who bring the asset of a home language other than or in addition to English to California schools, have the opportunity to develop biliteracy or multiliteracy. In addition to general participation numbers, Local participation data is also available. The data is posted annually each fall on the CDE SSB webpage under the Participation Data tab. The link to this webpage is also available on your link stock. The data is posted in an Excel spreadsheet. The first tab includes statewide data organized by county. Each subsequent tab provides a county's data. The data on each county tab is organized by LEA. This spreadsheet can be a valuable resource when starting an SSB program, since you can find out which other LEAs offer the SSB in your county or in nearby counties, and can collaborate with them when establishing a program. Next, I will provide an overview of the SSB requirements. As many of you know, the requirements for the SSB have recently changed. On October 7th, 2023, Governor Newsom signed Assembly Bill 370, which amends the SSB requirements starting with 2024 graduates. The information in this webinar will reflect the new requirements, which are effective on January 1st, 2024. To earn the SSB, students must demonstrate proficiency in English. The question is, how? Students must also demonstrate proficiency in another language to earn the SSB. Again, the question is, how? Today, I will clarify the new requirements for demonstrating proficiency in English and one or more languages in addition to English for the SSB. The requirements are outlined in California Education Code, or EC, Section 51461. I will go over the requirements in the law and some of the frequently asked questions, or FAQs. Students may choose to demonstrate their proficiency in English for the SSB through either coursework or an assessment. This slide includes an image of a classroom with high school students and a test with a pencil. To demonstrate English proficiency through coursework, students must complete all English Language Arts, or ELA, requirements for graduation with an overall grade point average, or GPA, of 3.0 or above in those classes. Per EC Section 51461A1, capital A, ELA courses completed at a public higher education institution or an independent institution of higher education with a grade point average equivalent to 3.0 or above may be used to satisfy one or more courses on this requirement. This means that students can use courses taken through dual enrollment at a college or university while in high school towards the coursework option for demonstrating English proficiency. To demonstrate proficiency in English, students may also choose one of the assessment options instead of coursework. These options are passing either the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress, or CASP, for ELA administered in grade 11 at or above the standard MET level, an English Advanced Placement, or AP, assessment with a score of 3 or higher, an English International Baccalaureate, or IB, examination with a score of 4 or higher, or the evidence-based reading and writing section of the SAT with a score of 480 or higher. These requirements are outlined in EC Section 51461A1, capital B through D. This slide includes a visual representation of each of the assessment options represented by the logo of each assessment: the CASP, AP, IB, or SAT. Again, students may choose either coursework or one of these assessments to demonstrate their proficiency in English and do not need both to earn the SSB. I also wanted to share a couple of frequently asked questions, or FAQs, that relate to the English proficiency requirements. A highlighted FAQ regarding the CASP is passing the CASP required to show proficiency in English? No, the CASP is one of the options available to demonstrate proficiency in English for the SSB. This is new, as the CASP was previously required for all students seeking the SSB. A highlighted FAQ for the AP is, which AP exam may be used to demonstrate proficiency in English for the SSB? Students may demonstrate their proficiency in English for the SSB with either the AP English Language and Composition, AP English Literature and Composition, or AP Seminar exam. In addition to the English proficiency requirements, students must also demonstrate proficiency in one or more languages in addition to English to be eligible for the seal. Next, I will share the new requirements for demonstrating proficiency in a second language. Again, students may demonstrate their proficiency in the world language in addition to English, either through a coursework or an assessment. This slide includes an image of a classroom with high school students and a test with a pencil. To demonstrate proficiency in the second language through coursework, students must complete a 4-year course of study of content in a world language at a high school or higher level with an overall GPA of 3.0 or above in that course of study. In addition, students must also demonstrate oral proficiency in the language comparable to that required to pass the AP, IB, or ACTFL Oral Proficiency Interview, or OPI. One or more courses in this course of study could be completed in another country in a language other than English, or at a college or university through dual enrollment. For either of these options, the school or district would need to verify the courses through a transcript. These requirements can be found in EC section 51461A2 capital B. This slide is accompanied by an image representing the two parts of the coursework option: a transcript representing the coursework and speech bubbles representing oral proficiency. Students may also choose to demonstrate proficiency in the second language through an assessment. Per EC sections 51461A2 capital A and capital C, there are multiple assessment options. They are either pass a world language AP examination with a score of 3 or higher, pass a world language IB examination with a score of 4 or higher, pass an ACTFL writing proficiency test or WPT and OPI with scores of intermediate, mid, or higher, or pass a locally approved assessment in the world language that meets the rigor of a 4-year high school course of study in the world language. Students may choose one of these assessments from the options available at the school or district to demonstrate their proficiency in the second language. This slide includes a visual representation of each of the assessment options, represented by the logo of each assessment: the AP, IB, ACTFL, or locally approved assessment represented by the image of a test. A highlighted FAQ regarding assessment approval is: how can LEAs certify their locally approved assessments to determine proficiency in a world language other than English for the SSB? An LEA must certify that any world language proficiency assessments it uses, other than those specified in EC section 51461A2 capital A, meet the rigor of a 4-year high school course of study and, at a minimum, assess speaking, reading, and writing in the language at the proficient level or higher. EC section 51461A2 capital C. LEAs may certify locally approved assessments when submitting the online insignia request form annually. There is a question on the form asking about locally approved assessments. Another highlighted FAQ regards local assessments. Are there any assessments which districts have approved locally to assess world language proficiency in a language other than English for the SSB? A list of locally approved world language proficiency assessments that LEAs have certified meet the rigor of a 4-year high school course of study in the world language and assess speaking, reading, and writing in the language at the proficient level or higher is posted on the CDE SSB webpage under the Assessments tab. This list is created from submissions to the insignia request form and will be updated annually. Another highlighted FAQ regards world language coursework. If a student tests into a higher level world language course and completes through year 4 of that language with a 3.0 GPA, would that student qualify for the SSB even if the student did not complete levels 1, 2, 3, and 4 in high school? LEAs define the structure, organization, and successful completion of a 4-year high school course of study in a world language. The LEA may establish comparable rigor scenarios to the 4-year high school course of study in a world language, consistent with EC Section 51461, including for students who place into higher level language courses. For example, if a student tests out of the first year of a 4-year high school course of study or takes the first year of a 4-year course of study while still in grade 8, but completes the rest of the 4-year course, such student could qualify for the SSB, provided they also satisfy the other criteria. The final highlighted FAQ in this area focuses on oral proficiency. How do LEAs assess oral proficiency for the SSB? It is a local decision how to assess oral proficiency, but in order to earn the seal, students must meet this requirement. The assessment you choose or create must meet the rigor of the oral portion of an AP or IB exam or the ACTFL OPI, EC Section 51461A2 capital B. The CDE is not asking LEAs to submit their oral proficiency assessments at this time, but may do so in the future. The SSB can be awarded in any world language, including American Sign Language and Indigenous languages. Students must demonstrate proficiency in all of the modalities of communication that exist in that language. EC Section 51461A2C2 states, a pupil who seeks to qualify for the SSB through a language that is not characterized by listening, speaking, or reading, or for which there is no written system, shall pass an assessment on the modalities that characterize communication in that language at the proficient level or higher. In other words, students should be assessed on all of the ways of communicating that exist in the language. For example, students who seek to qualify for the seal in a language that does not have a written system need only pass an assessment that assesses speaking and listening. In addition to the other English proficiency requirements, there is also an additional requirement for students who are currently classified as English learners at the time that they are seeking the SSB. Per EC Section 51461B1, English learners must also attain an oral composite score of level 4 on the English Language Proficiency Assessments for California, or LPAC, in addition to meeting all of the other requirements for earning the SSB. The LPAC requirement only applies to students who are currently classified as English learners. If a student reclassified at any time prior to grade 12 when the SSB is being awarded, they do not need to meet this additional requirement. This slide includes an image of the LPAC logo and a check mark labeled "Meet all other requirements." A final general FAQ for this requirement is, can the SSB be awarded prior to grade 12? Yes, if a student meets all of the requirements in EC Section 51461 prior to grade 12, the SSB may be awarded to that student as soon as the requirements are met. If the requirements are met prior to grade 12, the LEA may note that the seal has been awarded on the transcript and wait to affix the gold embossed seal to the diploma until the diploma is awarded at graduation. This visual demonstrates the requirements and different options for earning the seal. This is a simplified version of the SSB requirements poster available under the Resources tab on the CDE SSB webpage. The link to this webpage is provided in the links document shared in the chat. Under the white heading, English Proficiency Demonstrated By, there are two subtitles, coursework or assessment, choose one. As we discussed, the coursework option, represented here by a graduation cap and diploma, is all ELA courses required for graduation with a 3.0 GPA or above. As I mentioned, courses taken through dual enrollment at a college or university may also be used towards this requirement. Under assessments, it shows the logo of each of the ELA assessment options, CASP, AP, IB, or SAT. Below that is the subheading, if a student is currently designated as an English learner, also, with an image of the LPAC logo below. English learners must also demonstrate English proficiency by achieving an oral composite score of performance level 4 on the LPAC. The next white heading says, second language proficiency demonstrated by. Below that are the two subheadings that show the two options, assessment, choose one, or coursework. Below the assessment heading are the choices, each represented by the assessment logo, AP, IB, and ACTFL. Additionally, the option to use a locally approved assessment is represented by the image of a test with a pen. The other options for demonstrating second language proficiency is coursework. Below that heading is an image of a diploma and an image of speech bubbles. To demonstrate proficiency through coursework, students may complete a 4-year high school course of study in the language with a 3.0 GPA or above. Students who seek to qualify for the seal through this method must also demonstrate oral proficiency in the language. As I mentioned, courses taken through dual enrollment at a college or university or in another country may be used towards this requirement. Together, when a student demonstrates English proficiency and second language proficiency, they qualify for the SSB. This is demonstrated by the image of the SSB insignia next to the equation English proficiency plus second language proficiency equals SSB insignia. Next, I will go over logistics for participating in the SSB program. As a reminder, I will answer questions in the Q&A at the end of this webinar. If you see a question you would also like to see answered, please like that question to upvote it. A school district, county office of education, or direct funded charter school must complete the insignia request form to participate in the program and receive seals. This form is for LEA use and cannot be submitted directly by parents or students. Instead, parents or students should contact the school or district for information about how to determine if they or their child is eligible for the seal. The insignia request form is an online form that can be found on the CDE SSB webpage. The link to this page is available on the link document in the chat. The CDE is no longer accepting paper request forms. The CDE will process requests on an ongoing basis. There is no deadline for submitting. However, when applying, allow 4 weeks to process the order, mail the seals, and to affix the seals to diplomas or transcripts locally. You do not need to do anything in advance to let the CDE know you intend to participate in the SSB program. Submitting this form, usually in the spring, once you have identified eligible students, is all that you need to do. The online insignia request form can be completed by the district superintendent, charter school administrator, or authorized designee. The CDE is requesting the role and contact information for the person requesting seals on the LEA's behalf and the LEA details, including the county, district, county school district, or CDS code, and the names of the schools participating. The CDE also requests the languages in which students qualified, the number of seals awarded in each language, and the number of students qualifying in more than one language. The CDE also requests the number of current or former English learners and students with individualized education programs, or IEPs, who qualified. Finally, the CDE requests that LEAs submit information about any assessments other than those named in EC section 51461A2, capital A, that were used to assess proficiency in a world language other than English for the SSB. These are also known as locally approved world language proficiency assessments. The purpose of collecting this information is for the LEA to certify to the CDE that the assessments used meet the criteria in the law. The CDE also uses this information to create the list of locally approved assessments annually. LEAs may fill out this form for a single school or may request seals for multiple schools in the same district with a single form. It is important for LEAs to keep records of their SSB program. EC section 51464 states that a school district that participates in the program under the article shall maintain appropriate records in order to identify pupils who have earned the SSB. Please keep records of students who earned the seal, how they fulfilled the requirements, locally approved assessments that were used, and oral proficiency assessments used for students qualifying through a 4-year high school course of study. Students may ask for verification that they earned the SSB from the school or district after graduation for higher education or employment. So having these records is important for students as well. In order to facilitate the process of tracking eligible students, the CDE has provided interested parties with an eligibility tracker. This is an optional resource that may be used or adapted as needed. This resource is for internal record keeping only. Please do not submit this form to the CDE, but instead, please use the online Insignia request form. It is available on the CDE SSB webpage under the Requirements tab. The link to this webpage is available on your link document. The optional SSB eligibility tracker is formatted as pictured here. It includes spaces to enter the school and district name and the graduation year. Below that is a table with columns to enter students' names and how they fulfilled the requirements. It includes a space to list how they demonstrated English proficiency, the date they demonstrated English proficiency, how they demonstrated proficiency in a language other than English, the date they demonstrated proficiency, and the languages in which the student demonstrated proficiency in addition to English. It also includes an optional column to indicate when the student attained an oral proficiency, oral language composite score of level 4 on the LPAC. Finally, it includes a column to list when the SSB was awarded. LEAs are welcome to use this template, adapt it, or create their own system for tracking students. Some districts have used an online form to enter information for students who have met the requirements. A district might have schools enter students who meet the requirements using this form, and then use the information submitted in order to order insignias on behalf of all participating schools and to keep records. Again, how records are kept is a local decision. The SSB is also tracked using the California Longitudinal Pupil Achievement Data System, or CalPADS. LEAs indicate which students earned the SSB when exiting students in CalPADS. Starting in 2018, the SSB was incorporated as one of the options an LEA may select for the College Career Indicator for high schools. Students who earned the SSB will be reflected in the California School Dashboard. For more information on the California School Dashboard, visit the CDE California School Dashboard and System of Support webpage. This link is available on your link document. Next, I will share some information and resources to ensure that the program is implemented equitably and that all students are aware of the SSB program. To ensure equity, the SSB may be awarded in any language, including Indigenous languages, languages that do not have a written system, and American Sign Language, or ASL. The SSB should be available to all students, including students with IEPs, English learners, and students from underserved populations, including migratory students and students experiencing homelessness. For more information about supporting English learners with disabilities, please see the CDE California Practitioner's Guide for Educating English Learners with Disabilities. The link is available on the document in the chat. An FAQ regarding students with disabilities is, are the requirements for the SSB different for students who have an IEP? For a student with an IEP, LEA should defer to what is in the student's IEP regarding testing. The decision to modify the SSB criteria would depend on the individual student and the decisions made by the student's IEP team. The IEP team should review the student's assessment plan and transition plan and determine what assessments to use and what score on these assessments indicates proficiency in order to accurately measure the student's biliteracy in light of the student's IEP. If you are new to coordinating an SSB program or would like more resources and support, I would like to highlight the SSB Implementation Guide as a resource that can support you. The SSB Implementation Guide is linked on your link document today. The cover of this guide is pictured on the slide. The guide includes all of the information needed to start or strengthen an SSB program, including the criteria, ordering process, best practices, self-assessment tool, and sample handbook and website language. This guide includes everything I referenced in today's webinar and more. Raising awareness with students, families, and educators is key to implementing a new or strengthening an existing SSB program. A variety of resources for raising awareness can be found on the CDE SSB webpage under the Resources tab and also in the SSB Implementation Guide. It is important to share information about the SSB with students in grade 9 or before. Information should also be shared with their families. Share information early and often to ensure that students have time to prepare to meet the requirements. High schools may consider communicating with local feeder middle schools to get students excited about the seal and help them understand the requirements and paths to meeting them when they register for high school courses. Some of the resources available are a requirements flyer that can be shared with students, families, teachers, and counselors. Counselors can also use this flyer to help students track their progress. A requirements poster that can be posted in World Language and English Language Development or ELD classrooms, counselors' offices, bulletin boards, etc. A bookmark that can be provided to students. This PowerPoint presentation, which will be adapted for other audiences and posted to the website soon. Sample handbook language, available in the SSB Implementation Guide that LEAs can add to their handbooks, and sample website language, available in the SSB Implementation Guide that LEAs can add to their websites. The images of resources on this slide show the requirements flyer, the requirements poster, and the bookmark. These resources are currently being translated and will be available in additional languages soon. The resources highlighted on the previous slide can also be used to raise awareness. Some of the opportunities to use these resources to raise awareness with families are back to school nights, open houses, the handbook, letters and emails, school and district websites, social media, English Learner Advisory Committee, or ELAC, or District English Learner Advisory Committees, or DLACs, and other parent groups, and parent liaisons. Some of the opportunities to use these resources to raise awareness with students are world language classes, ELD classes, ELA or homeroom classes, counseling appointments, and assemblies. Again, information should be shared early and often to ensure that students and families are fully aware of the SSB program and its requirements. Finally, I would like to highlight one tool from the SSB Implementation Guide, the Self-Assessment Tool. The Self-Assessment Tool covers raising awareness, processes, and creating paths to biliteracy. This tool can be used for planning for new programs and to identify next steps for existing programs. The Raising Awareness section of the tool is pictured on this slide. It is a table that includes a column for actions with specific actions that an LEA can take to raise awareness. The text is too small to read in the image. Next to each action are columns labeled fully implemented, partially implemented, and not yet. These include space for LEAs to take notes of next steps or evidence. I recommend using this tool with a school or district office staff to identify next steps and recommend ways to improve SSB programs and ensure all students have access to the SSB. If you come up with other ideas or practices that work well, please share them with me so I can continue to improve this resource. The final element I will cover today is creating paths to biliteracy and the SSB. The Biliteracy Pathway Recognition Program was established in 2021. The purpose of this program is to recognize preschool, kindergarten, elementary, and middle school students who have demonstrated progress towards proficiency in speaking, listening, reading, and writing in one or more languages in addition to English. Just as the SSB recognizes high school graduates who have achieved a high level of literacy in one or more languages in addition to English, this program provides recognition for students who are on the path to biliteracy at key segments along their educational journey. This slide includes an image of the Biliteracy Pathway Recognition's logo, which shows a path with a signpost and 3 speech bubbles above, one with a house, one with a road, and one with a school. The 3 biliteracy pathway recognitions available are the Biliteracy Program Participation Recognition, represented by an image of a school, the Home Language Development Recognition, represented by an image of a house, and the Biliteracy Attainment Recognition, represented by an image of a road. LEAs may choose to award one or all of these recognitions, since the requirements for the biliteracy pathway recognitions are not established in law. The criteria are optional guidance and may be customized to fit the LEA program model and the needs of students. For more information on the biliteracy pathway recognitions, please see the CDE Biliteracy Pathway Recognition webpage. The link is on the webpage is available on your link doc. There are multiple paths to the state seal of biliteracy. A student that has a home language other than or in addition to English may continue to develop that language to a high level of proficiency and earn the SSB. A student may also choose to complete world language coursework in high school or through dual enrollment at a community college to earn the seal. Students who graduate from an elementary or middle school multilingual program, such as dual language immersion, may place into higher level courses in that language or take a qualifying assessment to earn the seal. Similarly, students who completed schooling abroad in another language may have very high proficiency in that language and may earn the seal through an assessment or the coursework that they completed in that country. These are just a few of the many paths to earning the SSB. The bookmark pictured on this slide shows the biliteracy pathway recognitions as a path to the SSB, starting with preschool and culminating with the SSB in grade 12. Recognitions may be awarded in preschool, elementary, and middle school to encourage students as they continue on the path to the SSB. This bookmark is available on the CDE Biliteracy Pathway Recognitions webpage, along with other information and resources. The link is available on your link doc. Alignment and articulation with elementary and middle schools that feed into the high school are vital to building a path to biliteracy from preschool through grade 12. High schools can work with elementary and middle schools to identify students who are already on the path to biliteracy and ensure that these students receive the information and encouragement they need to earn the SSB. It is especially important to reach out to English learners and other students who have a home language other than or in addition to English, as these students are well on their way to biliteracy and may need encouragement to continue to develop the linguistic asset of the home language. The importance of creating paths to biliteracy is reinforced by the Global California 2030 initiative. This initiative sets ambitious goals to expand multiliteracy, including by 2030, half of all kindergarten through grade 12 students participate in programs leading to proficiency in 2 or more languages. And by 2040, 3 out of 4 students earn the SSB. The Global California 2030 report articulates the goals of this initiative and is available as a PDF. The link is provided on your link doc. To meet these goals and others articulated in the report, California must establish well-articulated paths to biliteracy beginning in preschool that connected each educational segment through grade 12 and beyond. The biliteracy pathway recognitions are a first step towards creating these paths. Now I will answer any questions in the Q&A space. If you have a question, please feel free to place it in the Q&A. You can also see other questions in the Q&A and upvote questions you would like to see answered by clicking the thumbs up next to the question. If I don't get to all of the questions, I will share answers in written form with all participants following the webinar. All right.
We have quite a few questions in the chat. Gina, are you able to see the full list and see the ranking of which have been upvoted the most?
Let's see. I'm seeing, yes, I see quite a few here that I see one that's got 5 and 8. So I'll go with those ones first that have a few additional.
You can actually sort it, and I'm happy to read them
aloud.
Oh,
thank you. I got it. Okay, perfect. Yeah, you want to read them out? That would be awesome. Thank you.
Sure. So one question we have is, if we count ELD classes as English classes for graduation, do these classes count to meet the SSB?
Yes, what classes constitute the ELA or the ELA requirement is a local decision. So it's all of your ELA requirements for graduation. So if they count towards ELA, please, absolutely.
Great, thank you. The next question is, does the GPA need to be unweighted or can it be weighted?
That is a local decision. As long as you are consistent in how you apply that to students, then it is absolutely fine whatever you do. But please apply the same rules to all students seeking the SSB.
Great, thank you. The next question, do 2 semesters of a college foreign language equate to a 4-year course of study? Would this also count for oral proficiency?
Great question. So every college or university does this differently. So there's not a one-size-fits-all answer for what college courses count. So and what they count towards. So I would recommend working with a counselor at the college or university and a counselor at your school to determine what courses are equivalent to the 4-year high school course of study. Often college courses do count for more than 1 year each because they are more intensive. But again, that is dependent on the course and you wouldn't want to have a one-size-fits-all there. As far as oral proficiency, that really also depends. You would need to verify with the college professor that there is an oral proficiency assessment that is equivalent to the AP oral piece or one of the other assessments identified, or at the ACTFL intermediate level, intermediate mid. So I'd work with that professor to determine what works.
Okay, and I'm working through these in the order of which have the most upvotes.
Thank you.
So the next question is, our students take, oh, sorry, it's shifting on me. Our students take world language courses through dual enrollment. The UC system has stated that successfully completing a level 3 world language college course is the equivalent of 4 years of high school world language coursework. Can we use the same measurement for the SSB?
Yes, again, I would verify that the course is equivalent to what you determine as the proficiency level for year 4, but absolutely that could be a guidance for you.
If an EL student is meeting the SBAC and the second language criteria, why do we also ask for the LPAC?
So this is our legislature is the one who determines these requirements. So I can't really speak to intent. What I can say is that the oral piece is not covered by one of those assessments. So they wanted to just ensure that there was oral proficiency, I believe, but I would recommend reaching out to your representative, your California state representative, if you have questions about the why behind it, since I am not the author of this bill.
Can courses taken during middle school be used to meet the course of study requirement?
Yes, I believe I did answer that. And yes, again, it's the local decision and they would still need to complete through year 4 or above. So if they are, for example, in a dual language program and placed into AP in their freshman year, it was a really successful dual language program, then yeah, they have absolutely met that through coursework, provided they meet all the other requirements.
Must a district offer all 4 options for the language proficiency, or can they pick how many they offer? So for example,
great question. They can pick which ones they offer. It's not a requirement that all of those be available at every school. The more options you give to your students, the more pathways they have. But again, that is a local decision.
Must English learners reclassify, or is the requirement to meet LPAC level 4 only?
They do not need to reclassify to earn the state seal of biliteracy. They only need to get the oral portion at a level 4. And they could do this at any point. So if they're kind of stuck at a 3 overall, but they've gotten that 4 at one point during the high school, that can work as long as they've shown that oral language proficiency at some point.
How many courses do students need at a college or university to demonstrate proficiency in a world language?
Again, that would vary by the college or university. Sometimes it's fewer than 4 years, could be as few as 2, but it really depends on the intensity of the course and what the counselor determines.
Could you please confirm the new SSB requirements apply to the 23-24 high school graduates?
Yes, they do apply to 2023-24 high school graduates. They go into effect on January 1st, 2024.
Is the CSA not able to be used?
That is a local decision. So the CSA was not named in the law as one of the universally approved assessments. Therefore, you could select it as a locally approved assessment if you determine that it meets the criteria in the law. Right now, the CSA does not cover all of the modalities of communication that exist in Spanish. So the CSA is the California Spanish Assessment, if those are, for those not familiar. So you might need to supplement it with another locally created or locally approved assessment to ensure that you've gotten to all of those modalities of communication.
Okay, then there's a question, I think it's asking kind of the order of things and how you know if the final GPA upon graduation, how you award the SSB.
So great question. So you do need to order your seals a bit in advance, and you may not know the final GPA. I would order seals for all students you anticipate may be eligible, and then you can always submit a corrected form if that number changes significantly to ensure that the data we report is accurate. You would then simply wait, and since you usually confer this upon graduation, you would wait to ensure that they've met all of those requirements before you award. If a student, for example, is taking summer school and you don't know if they're eligible until after graduation, you could recognize them as a candidate for the seal in graduation and just wait to finally award until they've met that requirement.
Why do EL students have an additional criteria if they meet all other criteria? Seems like an equity issue.
Again, I would recommend talking to your local representative about that, since that was determined by our legislature.
The only way a student could be awarded the SSB prior to grade 12 is to pass an assessment, since the course requirement reads completion of all ELA requirements for graduation, correct?
Unless the student was really on the fast track in terms of coursework and maybe took dual enrollment at a community college or did summer school and fulfilled all of the ELA graduation requirements early. Otherwise, yes, an assessment would probably be the one to choose if they really want to put it on college apps, for example. And they could also, if they haven't met all the criteria yet in grade 11 when they're applying, they could simply put that they are a candidate for the seal if they're on track to earn it, but haven't quite determined proficiency yet.
I do see we have a hand raised. If you do have a question, if you could please place it into the chat, and then we'll do our best to get to as many questions as possible in the time allowed. The next question is, are we still able to award an anticipated seal of biliteracy? I believe you were just speaking to this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You may. You just call them a candidate at the time. Mhm.
Great. Could you please confirm the requirement for the LPAC? They do not need an overall score of 4, just a 4 on the oral composite score.
Exactly. You have that right. That is correct. Oral only.
What type of oral proficiency test can I use to meet the second part of the coursework for a world language criteria?
That is a local decision. I can say that the AP is very handy. Its website offers a sample questions that you could use to craft yours. I would also recommend potentially working with your year 4 teachers, your world language teachers, as they may already have an assessment that meets this criteria that they're administering in year 4, and you might not need to reinvent the wheel. So this would be something to work with your world language team on, and maybe also other districts in your county or your county office of education might be able to connect you with some that already have this. So again, you don't have to create something from thin air.
Will this Q&A and the answers be included with the recording? I think that is referring to the entire list of questions in the Q&A.
The recording will include this portion as long as our web coordinators allow that. And I think it should be no problem, but you know, pending, I can't say for sure until I've tried to post this and see what happens.
Students in 8th grade, can they use the CASP meeting standards to demonstrate their ELA proficiency?
Students in grade 8, no, so it's a grade 11 CASP is the requirement. It's not one of the previously administered CASPs. So if you're using the CASP option, you have to wait till grade 11.
Will ARIES be automatically updated to pull students that qualify?
That is a question for ARIES. I would get in touch with your coordinator. CDE does not have jurisdiction over ARIES. So check in with them, shoot them an email, see if they can do that for you.
I want to clarify for EL students, they have to meet the LPAC level 4 and all of the other SSB requirements for English proficiency and proficiency in another language. This means they have 3 requirements instead of 2.
They do not need to meet the overall LPAC, just the oral portion. And yes, then they need to meet all the other requirements. So it's everything just like everybody else, plus the oral proficiency on the LPAC. And I am going to pause us here on questions. I think we got to the majority. I will provide additional responses in writing. And if you have other questions, you can absolutely contact me as well. So I am just going to share as a reminder that the link document pictured on the slide is available in the chat for those watching live, and linked with this webinar recording for those watching the recorded version. This document has links to all of the relevant resources referenced today. And I just want to thank you for your interest in the SSB. This important program helps prepare students with 21st century skills, encourage the study of languages, affirm cultural and linguistic identities, and build bridges between communities. If you have any questions about the SSB, please contact me, Gina Garcia-Smith, Education Programs Consultant in the MSD at the CDE, by phone on my direct line at 916-319-0265, or through the main office line at 916-319-0938. You can also reach me by email at seal, SEAL, @cde.ca.gov. This concludes the SSB webinar. Thank you for your time, and thank you to our ASL interpreters and to Emily Smith for assisting us. Thank you.